It's time for Tycoons of Small Biz, spotlighting the true backbone of the American economy, the true tycoons of business in America, the owners, founders, and CEOs of small businesses. The show's hosts, Austin Peterson and Landon Mance, are registered representatives of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation, a broker-dealer, member SIPC, and registered investment advisor. The views expressed by your hosts, Austin and Landon, are not necessarily the views of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Backbone Planning Partners is a marketing name for registered representatives of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Now let's lean in as Austin and Landon connect with this week's Tycoons.
Good afternoon, Tycoons, and welcome to today's episode of Tycoons of Small Biz. I am your host here, as always, Austin Peterson, coming to you live from our studio, the Business Radio X studios here in Tempe, Arizona. And if this is the first time that you're listening to our fledgling podcast, we are on episode 102, so it's not like we just started this thing. We're excited to, obviously invite a new business owner every single week into our studio and have a conversation with them. This podcast is put together by small business owners for small business owners. And the intent and the reason that my partner and I, Landon, and I started this podcast, and we've added other partners since, is because we believe in the small business community. We believe that it truly is the backbone of the American economy, and we want them to have an opportunity or a platform to share their story and tell a little bit about their business. And that's why we've started this program, and we've had it going almost for 2 years now. And we are excited, obviously, to have a true tycoon in the podcast with us today, or in studio with us today. We've got Michael Pedersen of MikePedersen.com in the studio with us today, not to be confused with my father, Michael Pedersen. This is somebody who's much closer to my age than my own father. So, Mike, welcome to the studio.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was kind of cool. When I plugged in your directions, I was 11 minutes away. So my home is 11 minutes that way.
Yeah, no, that's
pretty sweet.
That's even closer than my home to this studio. So that's great. We love this studio. Actually, we've been recording here, like I said, almost 2 years now. May 5th, Cinco de Mayo 2020 is when we recorded the first episode. And, the studio hasn't changed a whole lot, but some of the technology has. And so, for those who are watching this on YouTube, we've got better technology than we've had over the years. We've got better cameras, more cameras in the room. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that there's more of me on video, but, for guys like Mike who take obviously very good care of themselves, the women, of course, are going to be happy to be watching this this podcast. So, Mike, before we jump into the business side of things, tell us a little bit about you personally. Where'd you grow up? What'd you study in school? Did you go to school? Do you have a family, any kids? Give us some background.
Well, I'm from a very small town in Oregon called Newburgh. It's actually got the second biggest dental equipment company in the world, which my mom worked there for 30 years, and she passed away about 3 years ago. But so I'm from a little tiny town. Then really my entrepreneurial journey started at age 10. A lot of people say that, but mine truly did. I was pushing lawnmowers around my neighborhood at 10 on the weekends and charging $5 a yard, and I get about 2 or 3 yards every Saturday. And when I look back on it now, I think, wait a minute. So that was a long time ago. We don't say how many years ago that was, but I think inflation. Okay, I made $15 as a 10-year-old. Let's say 40-ish years ago. What would that be now? Like, what if a kid was pushing the lawnmower down the street now and what would that be? You're a money guy. What would that be from $15 on a Saturday for a 10-year-old 40 years ago? What would that be now?
Be about triple, little over triple, almost 4 times.
So a 10-year-old boy making $50 on a Saturday?
Yeah, between 50 and 60. Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah, still not bad.
Yeah. So from there, paper out, and just I wanted to make money at a young age. And I was in a family where my dad passed away when I was 4, and my mom was pregnant with my sister, her third child. It was crazy. I mean, my mom's stories. I'm the strongest woman I'll ever meet, no doubt, in my lifetime. But so there wasn't a lot of money flowing, and I had that desire at a young age. To the point where in high school, I worked on a farm for 2 summers, making $1.95 an hour. And saved I'll tell you the exact number, $976 to pay cash for my car the day I turned 16. And I told my mom, I'm ready, on the day of my birthday, I said, I'm ready to get my car. She goes, what do you mean? And I pulled out the envelope. I go, well, I got $976 here. Let's go get the car. And
Yeah.
I bought a car. So, and then just, it goes on and on from there. And state champion track athlete, and took sports to a really, really high level. Division I javelin thrower at Oregon State. Then almost made the Olympic Games for Canada and the decathlon after college. And then from there, a little fitness modeling, some infomercials for fitness. That was kind of fun. Then I got into private fitness training. That was my business for a while, that trained male CEOs in their homes. They would be your ideal client, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Or maybe I would be your ideal client.
No, it was really neat because these guys were, one guy had just sold his company for $75 million, and I'm driving out to his $5 million home, and I was this young, fitness model, cocky probably a little bit, and I knock on that door, and I didn't blink at those guys, and they loved it.
Yeah.
They loved it. I didn't bow down to them, and I said, you need me more than I need you. And I was charging a lot of money to these guys. And then from there, I launched the world's first golf fitness membership website back in 2001. So I met a gentleman who had the first online fitness membership site. Now there's a million of them.
Yeah.
He had the first. He was 23 years old back then, and he was doing $2.7 million a year revenue at 23.
Yeah.
And I met him, and he said, well, what are your passions? I said, fitness and golf. He goes, well, there you go. And so I launched it and took it to 7 figures in just over 2 years by myself. So that was, I was doing content marketing, video marketing, lead generation. It was crazy. I built a website that was ranked #1 in the world for, like, if you typed in golf tips, golf training, golf fitness, it was ranked #1 in the world. So that built up all my chops for digital marketing, right? Because I was in the trenches doing it.
Yeah.
And then in 2008, the market crashed, and that business crashed because most of my customers were the semi-retired to retired guys who saw their retirements get
Cut in half. Yeah.
Exactly. So sales plummeted. I had 2 young kids and an at-home wife at the time, and that was very stressful. And then so as an entrepreneur, I pivoted and kind of opened this boutique digital marketing agency and got kind of pigeonholed in dentistry for a while. And had a lot of dental clients, and we were doing, SEO, web design, all of, Google ads, Facebook ads, content, all of that. And then when COVID hit, I decided to make another big pivot again, and just go right into consulting, working with small business owners and just consult with them. And I kind of pivoted out of the agency model. So now I'm consulting with growth-minded small business owners.
Yeah. So, tell us what that means, really. You consider yourself a revenue growth specialist, right? So, people can put the words together, revenue growth. The reality is most, if not all businesses are trying to grow revenue. But tell us what a revenue growth specialist really does and why somebody would be interested in your services.
Well, it's more about strategy. I think every business owner out there has been sold Facebook marketing. They've been sold Google ads. They've been sold search engine optimization. So they've been sold tactics, and they go to maybe a convention and they walk around the booths and they see an SEO guy and a web person and all those things, and they start jumping around from tactic to tactic. And what happens is there's no strategy there, and the strategy is like the backbone to your business. If you don't have strategy, you're going to fumble forever, right? So it's almost, when I work with clients, I have to get them to take a step back. Like, forget all that tactical stuff from it. We got to step back. What's your position in the marketplace? Who's your ideal demographic? What's the buyer journey? What's the customer experience? Show me what that do. Customers from the first touch point to the final touch point, are they just thrilled with your service or product, right? And unfortunately, a lot of business owners don't know how to do that. They've been sold, from marketing people, the tactics. So it's kind of re-educating them to back up a little bit and start looking more at strategy. So that's where I come in and really kind of rooter everything, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. That actually reminds me of the conversation we had right before we sat down to start recording, where you brought up a past guest of ours mentioning random acts of marketing.
I love that phrase.
And when I heard that, I had the same thought. I thought, my goodness, how in the world? Yeah. How have we not thought of it that way before? But, the reality is that's what most business owners do, right? And Landon and I are business owners. Our other partners on the program, Ryan and Gary, are also business owners. We've all done it, right? Every business owner out there has done it. But Before we go down that road, I kind of want to back up a little bit and talk a little bit about, what year was the Golf Fitness? What year did that launch?
It launched in 2001 and then dissolved in 2008. The remnants of it, though, and I'm so glad I kept it. So it's like proof I had it.
Yeah.
Is I still today, I think, have one of the top YouTube golf channels on YouTube still today. I haven't put out a video for 12 years, but if you typed in my name on YouTube, you'd see it. It's got 5 million combined views, 4 million views. So I really became very, very good at video marketing and video optimization on YouTube. And, I've gotten clients from one video. I had one dentist that landed $80,000 in porcelain veneer cases within 2 weeks of launching a video that I scripted and shot for him. So, and he sent me a text message. He said, "I don't want you to get a big head, but your $1,000 video has made me $80,000 in the last 2 weeks."
Yeah.
So, it really just to see, and even today, video is not used near enough, and it's not used correctly. It's used completely wrong.
Yeah. So that's actually what I was trying to drill down to is 2001 is very early for YouTube and video marketing, period. And when you mentioned that was the first thought that came to my mind was, well, wait a minute. I know from our pre-call that was a while ago. So I want to know, how that got started and how you got involved there and what that's ultimately done for you. But you're right. Today, it's kind of a buzzword, right? People realize video is a big deal. Even LinkedIn is starting to realize, gosh, we need to have more videos on the platform. And so they're opening it up and they want people to start using video on their platform. It's still, maybe we're not in the early adopter stage, but we're just barely past that early adopter stage. So there's way more runway to grow on video marketing. But let's start there. I mean, what made you think video was the direction to go back then?
Well, golf and even fitness is very visual. You can't when you're a trainer. Like if I was talking on here and said, "Here's how to do a bicep curl, stand up, do this, do this, do that." Well, that's kind of hard, right? But if you watch me do it, you're like, "Oh, his elbows are going here, his hands are going there. He's got muscles are flexing, whatever." It's the visual of the video is much more. You can absorb it much quicker and better, and it's more high fidelity.
Yeah.
So, and mine was a combination of golf fitness and also some technique because I was really rabid golfer. So I was learning the biomechanics of the golf swing.
Yeah.
So I learned every joint, how it should move in the golf swing all the way through. So I combined the two of them, which made me, and we'll talk about this later in the show, but a big thing with businesses is called market dominating position. That's a key phrase that everybody should understand.
Yeah.
Well, I created a market dominating position right there with those videos. Nobody was doing it. Nobody was showing golf, fitness, and mechanics all in one video. So I literally tied it all together in one video. So when somebody came to me to a video, they would get a fitness exercise, but they'd also get some swing technique stuff all in one.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know, that's this revelating thing. It just was what I did. And then from there, I turned that video, I embedded it on a content page. And so, Marcus Sheridan, Marcus Sheridan,
Yep.
right? I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're very good acquaintances and we chat back and forth. And he's been preaching content marketing forever. Well, back then I was doing content marketing before they called it that, right? 2001, there's nobody really, it wasn't labeled that,
Yeah.
right? And so the web pages I created, I felt like, and it's how I feel about with my clients now. I wanted to provide the utmost of value for free all the time. And so I created a web page that was 2,000 words long, 5 to 7 still pictures, and 2 embedded videos. That's how I ranked number 1 in the world, right? Because Google would crawl that page, and that one page was the equivalent of some people's websites.
Yeah.
Right, that one page, and it was just keyword loaded, and with the videos embedded and the pictures and I optimized all the pictures. I optimized for SEO back then, right? I titled them all. So SEO was a big thing for me back then because I built it up to 35,000 unique visitors a month to that website, 30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So
Yeah.
it was a beast of a website. So I'm really a believer in, to this day, 20 years later, content marketing, video marketing, value. Educate your ideal prospect for free.
Yeah.
Give them because they'll turn to you as the trusted advisor.
Right.
And if you say, no, I'm charging for that, I'm charging for this, they're going to see right through that. And there's no authenticity there. You're not being genuine. The more value you can provide for free up front, they're going to go with you.
Yep.
period.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think it's hard, specifically for those in the advice industry, right? To feel that it's okay to give away some of the advice that people pay me for, right? I'm in the advice industry to give it away for free, but you're absolutely correct, right? I mean, you give away basic information for free, then when they know that they need something more complex, they come to you as that person that they're seeking advice from.
Well, and here's the thing, and I don't know if you experience this, but studies show only 1 to 3% are ready to buy now. That's study. You can Google that, right? So that's 97% that if they came to a website, let's say, and they left, they're gone forever, right? Well, you need to capture them, and then you need to take them along the buyer's journey, right? And that buyer's journey starts at step 1, 2, 3, 4, purchase, right? And each one of those phases is different pieces of content that's value laden, right? So it's like, and then you have to really break down the buyer persona to a point of like what's going on in their mind. They hit the website, right? They're maybe looking around for something. They leave the website. Well, you need to understand what was going on in their brain. And it's not, you're not reading their mind because you go out and interview people. You interview your customers. What made you decide to go with us, right? So when you do that, you become very powerful in your industry.
Yeah. No, I agree. And there are a few people that are starting to figure it out. I think, Landon and I do a fairly good job because of the podcast. We've been doing this for a while, and we put some other videos out. We're actually, for those of you who are sitting there waiting, thinking, when is Austin going to put another video out? It's coming. We just kind of finished our brand strategy, and we're getting ready to roll out, quite a bit more in terms of video and blogs.
If you need some help, let me know.
Yeah, no, we're
more than happy to.
We will more than likely have that conversation.
Yeah.
This was yesterday where we kind of got the deliverables on our brand strategy and where do we go from here and what do we do from here. But it's something that is top of mind for me, something that I know that we've got a successful business. I would say, we're here, but this is something that can take us here if we do it the right way. Right. And so it's definitely something that I would consider us late early adopters, but we're now figuring out, okay, how do we really capitalize on this and what do we do to help grow our business from here?
Well, I would assume I've got a couple of business partners that are in the financial industry, and I've helped them a little bit, and I know all about the compliance and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
It's just like, wow. But at the same time, you can still get creative with the words you put on your website in your marketing pieces and make them more emotional. People, we all know this, but I have to say this over and over and over again. Everybody makes decisions based on emotions. Yep. So you state the problem. What's their biggest problem? And that's front and center, whether that's a marketing piece, that's on your website, whatever it is. What's their biggest problem? You provide some education, some value, saying you can solve this problem, right? And they choose you.
Yep.
It's just a very simple equation, right? But I would say 90% of businesses of all sizes are failing.
Yeah.
They're failing, and they're spending so much money on marketing that they don't have to spend. If they tighten their message and got everything more dialed in, and again, let's go back to strategy for a minute. If they had their strategy correct, they wouldn't have to spend $20,000 a month on Facebook ads, $30,000 a month on Google ads, right? They're spending all this money, and they don't own those platforms.
Yep.
You don't own those platforms, right?
Yeah.
So you're spending all that money, giving it to somebody else, making them richer. Well, so in the moment, you're getting that lead. But what's that doing in the end for you, right?
Yep.
As opposed to if you build out your own platform with value, and I call it like my golf site. That was an authority website. Authority, right? Like Google, when they crawled it, they were like, this is number one.
Yep.
And the reason why, the content I added on a regular basis. So they were seeing, Google was seeing consistent content. I was embedding YouTube videos, which Google owns YouTube. Yep. So they kind of like that, seeing that code in there, right?
Yeah, of course.
No SEO will tell you that gives you a bump.
It has to.
Come on.
Yep.
Come on. I mean, Google would never say that, but it probably does. But so I know in the financial industry, you can get creative with your words, and you can do it within a compliant standpoint. And most financial websites are horrible.
Yep.
They are horrible. They're just so stone cold, no personality, no brand, no nothing.
Yep.
So if you guys with your new brand thing, I don't know what it looks like, but hopefully you crushed it with your new brand. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think we're going to get there, and we know that our website isn't great. We know that we believe that our website is better than a very large percentage of financial professionals' websites, but it's still not great. And so, the content's decent. Our homepage is awful. And so we know that we need to upgrade that and change that right away. Because, you're going to tell me, and any marketing person worth their weight would tell me that the first page of my website, the very top half,
The hero section.
needs to tell them exactly why they're there and what we do on our, in our business. It doesn't do that.
Well, again, state the problem. What keeps them up at night?
Yep.
What's the problem? That should be your headline.
Yep.
It's not. A lot of times people get a little bit mixed up. They'll say benefit, 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 right?
Yep.
And that's fine. It's better than feature. A benefit's better than a feature. But
Yep.
what's even better than a benefit? Emotion.
Yep.
So emotion is so your ideal client, what keeps them up at night? That's your headline.
Yeah.
Right there. And then the sub-headline is the engage part. That's the solution. And it doesn't say choose us. It's more of a benefit-laden kind of not even a sell. It's just more of a value-laden statement that positions you guys as the solution without saying you're the solution.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be selling.
Yep.
You want to be providing value. So
Yep.
anyway.
Yeah, definitely some food for thought and some things that have been top of mind for us, and we're working on that. But the funny thing is, I have to mention is we actually have a 6-part video series on our website and our YouTube channel called "What Keeps You Up at Night." So I had to mention that because you said that. So it
That's
and
very
it was
emotional.
just basic educational information, right?
With no selling.
No selling.
Yep.
And then we did something similar, and I'm drawing a blank on what we called it, but I basically put out another, I want to say it was a 6-part series at the beginning of COVID to basically actionable strategies for
I love the word actionable.
COVID-19. So we did some things right for a while, and then we got really busy with the podcast and other things, and we got away from it. So now we've got to kind of bring it back in. We're outsourcing and hiring and doing the things that we need to kind of bring that back around. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So, all right, I have to hit one more thing on this golf fitness thing because I think it's worth mentioning. So 2001, for those who are golf fans, let's think back to kind of where we were in golf, right? So Tiger Woods won the Masters, if I'm not mistaken, for the first time in 1997.
97. I owe him a Christmas card for the rest of my life.
Yeah, because
sure.
there was definitely
was
something
perfect.
there, right? The timing is huge
Yep.
because Tiger Woods was the first golfer that we ever saw that you could see definition in his arms
brought
and
fitness
didn't
to
have,
golf.
he definitely brought fitness to golf and showed, even though he's struggled physically throughout the years, but imagine what it would have been like if his swing had been as violent as it is
Without
the physical structure that he has, right?
Yeah, no, it was perfect timing. And here's another funny thing about Tiger Woods. His third U.S. amateur win was 10 minutes from the house I lived in Pumpkin Ridge, Oregon. The Pumpkin Ridge Golf Club was where, and I went and watched all 4 rounds. And my then wife, and she'll say this to this day, I came back every day going, this Tiger Woods, watch this guy. It was before he's pro, right? It was his third U.S. amateur, but I had never seen anything like this. I mean, I got goosebumps. I stood behind him on every shot.
Yeah.
And he was skinny back then. He hadn't lifted.
Right.
He was probably 6'1", 160, 155.
Yeah.
And what he did on the golf course, even back then, every day I came back to him and I said, watch this guy. This guy is wow.
Yeah.
So there's another little trivia with Tiger. I was there for a third U.S. amateur win. It was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's something else. I mean, I remember the first time I saw him in person was at the Memorial Tournament outside of Columbus, Ohio. And it's Jack Nicklaus's tournament, and he was starting to kind of make that charge where people were like, gosh, he's going to break the record, and he's going to have more wins, he's going to do this, more majors, all that kind of stuff. But I remember distinctly standing at the ropes of a tee box, and with Tiger, you have to go ahead like 2 or 3 holes to be able to even get close, right? And so we went ahead a couple of holes, and I just stood there at the rope waiting for him to show up at the tee box and thinking to myself, man, that guy is just ripped. Like, you're not used to seeing that. And he's wearing a polo shirt, and you can kind of start to see the 6-pack underneath there and his arms, and it was so abnormal for a golfer to see it. And he was this towering guy, playing a sport that was known for not having to be really super in shape.
And it was his athleticism too, though. I mean, you could just see it. I mean, this guy, a lot of times in years, like when I was in high school, the golfers were what? Not the real athletic guys, right?
Yeah,
they
right.
weren't, right? It made fun of, whatever, skinny guys, whatever. Tiger comes along, just the way he walked, and he carried himself, and then he's working out, and people's like, who the heck is this guy? And his shoulders were just,
Yep.
That's what I liked about it.
Yep.
I was like, ooh, look at this guy, right? Because I'm a fitness guy.
Yep.
So I saw the shoulders, and I was like, okay, all right, this guy's got something. It was pretty cool, very cool.
Yeah, no, fun to watch, and he is responsible for the guys that are out there playing today. I mean, there's no doubt about it. All these guys,
prize money.
Oh yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. But I mean, I even think so. I've got a son who's 22.
Oh, nice.
And he played golf all through high school. Also played baseball. He was an athletic kid. Played every sport growing up except for soccer. That lasted a few games, and he's like, "This isn't for me."
Track too?
He did not.
Okay,
no.
okay,
so
okay.
Sorry, I should have.
Because I'm saying I'm gonna lick my chops if you say track, because we'll be talking track the rest of this time.
Yeah, I should have been careful about that because I discount track as one of those.
Oh, be careful now.
One of the big sports. I apologize, but
no.
it's definitely an Olympic sport, and you've got to be athletic. But yeah, no, baseball, football, basketball, and then golf, where he grew up playing all of them and was a good athlete at all of them. But baseball, he liked it because of this, and golf the same thing. But he also struggled with golf because of this.
So much mental. It's so much mental.
Yeah, the moment you make a mistake is where he had the problem of not being able to move on to the next shot, right? You think of Kobe Bryant, you think of Tiger Woods, you think of LeBron James, you think of Steph Curry, these guys who can miss 7 shots in a row in basketball and still believe that they will make the next shot, right? And that's the same thing as in golf, right? I mean, you have an errant tee shot, you've got to believe that you're going to be on the green with that next shot no matter how far off the fairway you are. And
that's so true.
That's what he's got in spades compared to everybody else, in addition to the physical talent. All right, so we've gotten kind of way off track here. So let's kind of bring it back to what you do on a daily basis. So maybe, actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's take a quick break, hear a word for our audience, call to action for our audience, and then we'll come back and talk about, kind of an ideal client for you. Hey there, Tycoons. Austin Peterson here, co-host of Tycoons of Small Biz. If you think you have what it takes to be considered a tycoon and you're wondering how you could become a featured guest, please follow and then message us at Tycoons of Small Biz on LinkedIn. We'd love to have a conversation with you to see if it is a mutually good fit, and if so, we'll get you scheduled for an interview. If you're unsure about being a guest on our podcast, but are contemplating selling your business over the next few years and you'd like to know what your business is worth, please also follow us and then message us on LinkedIn for your no-obligation, informal valuation of your business. We look forward to hearing from you, and thanks for listening to the Tycoons of Small Biz podcast. And now, back to today's program. All right, Tycoons, welcome back. We're here with Mike Pedersen, and we've been kind of all over the board today. We've talked about a lot of different topics, which are very interesting because, Mike, your background is very interesting. And it's kind of led you to where you are today, which, I think is phenomenal to think about somebody who was doing video marketing in the year 2001. And you've still got people who don't understand that that's a big thing today is phenomenal in and of itself. So I appreciate you, working with me as we kind of work through that and talk through that. So let's get to where we are today. So the consulting that you're doing today, tell us kind of what that looks like, right? I mean, you've got a business, so I mean, you can use our business if you want as an example, or use a client without obviously sharing names. I would assume that you have. What does the engagement typically look like? What do you see that is their pain point, and why exactly is it that they're hiring you?
Yeah, I typically work on a 12-month engagement with clients because a lot of times. You can't turn things around in a month or two. That's just not how it works. Again, I don't lock any client into a contract because I don't like the feeling of that. So they can leave whenever they want, but I want to set the expectation like, hey, when we work together, it's 12 months. And that 12-month looks it's very laid out. You can visually see it. I use software that's just really incredible software. And that software can lay out all the strategies that we decide on for 12 months. And it's basically about one strategy per month. And I basically oversee the implementation of it. I don't do the implementation, I oversee it. So I hate the word coach because go on LinkedIn, everybody's a coach.
Yeah.
And I'm an athlete, right? So
Yeah.
I should like the word coach, but I don't like that everybody and their dog says they're a coach now.
Yeah.
But in a way, that's what it is. Advisor, coach, consultant. And a big part of it is business owners, they wear a lot of hats depending on the size of the company, right? And so they're overwhelmed. And a lot of them feel alone. I mean, really. And, a lot of times I'll work with men and, we're taught to suck it up, and just deal with it, and then you talk about suicide rates and all, you get crazy numbers, right? So it's very, very tough when I talk to some of these CEOs and business owners because there's a lot of stress. I can see it the minute we talk on the phone, and then the minute we do a Zoom call, I can see it in their face. And then I want to find out the reason why you're doing all this. What's the reason behind all this? And I dig in. I want to know the real personal reason why, not, oh, well, this or that. No, keep going. And I push it because I want them to verbally say what's their biggest reason why. Because that's really Simon Sinek, right?
Yep.
What's your why?
Yep.
That's a great book, by the way.
Yeah.
But so I want to find out what their why is. And then from there, what's your 1-year goal, 3-year goal, 5-year goal, right? And a lot of them don't even look that far. They're in survival mode. Or they're just month to month, barely paying payroll and trying to support their families or both spouses are working in the business, 50 hours, 60 hours a week. So you got to find out what's your goal. Is it an exit? Is it you're in growth mode or in startup mode? So each one of those takes a different approach, obviously, right?
Yep.
Pretty standard there. But and then from there, I do kind of an audit of what does your buyer journey look like? What's your buyer persona look like? What's your customer experience look like? Because those three right there, those three are the key to the kingdom.
Yep.
If you don't know your buyer and you don't know the journey of that buyer and the customer experience hasn't really been thought out from touch point 1 to completed, whatever it is, right? Those three things are the key to the kingdom. And I think a lot of companies overlook it. They overlook it. They'll get a marketing person coming in. They might get a CMO come in and whatever, but they don't really dig in deep to those three things: buyer persona, buyer journey, customer experience, those three things. Because if you know those, you can wrap all your marketing messages around that. You can come up with your market dominating position from that.
Yep.
So know your customer. And that's when I say know your customer, there's a gentleman. Do you know Jay Abraham? Or do you know the name Jay Abraham? Because I know
the name. I'm just not placing.
Are we the same age? Or I think I'm probably a lot older than you.
I was born in 1976.
I'm a lot older than you.
Okay. Well, you're still not as old as my dad, I'm guessing.
Watch it now. But no, Jay Abraham. If you don't know that name, Google it and go buy his book.
Okay.
It's from 20, 30 years ago. And he's a guru. And he talks about the strategy of preeminence. Remember that. So hopefully somebody's taking notes here.
Yeah.
Go Google that, strategy of preeminence. It's know your customers better than they know themselves. Right?
Yep.
And how do you do that? You interview them. You survey them. You gather as much information about them as you can so that you literally know more than they know.
Yep.
And then when you know that, everything falls into place. Your marketing messages, how you position yourself in the marketplace. How do you differentiate? Once you do that, now you have a kind of a stronghold on the market, whether it's a local market, regional, national, whatever it is. But, when I go to a lot of websites, and I'll go to websites of big companies, you can tell they're wasting millions of dollars on marketing and advertising when they really didn't have to. If they had a clear message, right? And I think a lot of people, now the smaller businesses don't have millions, but even, $5,000 a month budget, $10,000, $20,000 a month budget for marketing and advertising for some of these businesses may seem to be like a lot, right?
Yep.
And really, in theory, it's not. Well, 20 or 30 might be a fair bit. 5 or 10 shouldn't be too much for anybody, really. But when you think of that, you think, okay, well, what if we straightened all this mess out first? Don't spend another dime. Do not spend another dime on marketing and advertising. And all the marketing people listening to this are going to be like, well, wait a minute. But I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
Stop spending the money. Let's take a step back and get all the trash out, get the strategy set up. Then down the road, we can implement tactics, which is what a lot of the marketing is tactics, right?
Yep.
So you clean all the junk out. Once you clean the junk out, what do we got? Now what do we have to work with? Then from there, you plot it out month to month to month. And that's kind of what I do.
Yep.
And I do it in a very, very not a hand-holding way. We're all full-grown adults here. So I do pick and choose a lot of time who I work with, because if they don't have a growth mindset and they don't have that kind of I'll do whatever it takes attitude, that's probably not a good fit for me. Because I've been called a pit bull before. I don't know if that, I'll take it as a compliment, but and I've had clients earlier say, you're like a pit bull. But, that's who I really mesh with.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think a lot of people, they say they want to grow, but when you start really talking to them, they're like, well, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. So I really dig in deep before they bring me on, because I want to know it's a good fit.
Yeah.
Because you have to, the personalities have to fit. And I'm a pretty type A alpha. So, that's who I mesh with the best.
Yeah.
So that growth mindset, that I'll do whatever it takes mindset, that's got to be in place from day one, because there's going to be a lot that's on them or their team. I'll have a weekly call with my client, typically the business owner, CEO. We'll look at the strategy and I'll say, what happened this week?
Yeah.
Too busy, didn't do that. We'll push it to next week. And then if it happens 2 or 3 times in a row, then we have a pretty serious talk. I take the reins and I'm like, okay, this doesn't seem to be important to you. And then I've walked away within a month of an engagement from clients. I've walked away.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see the effort, and they, I get it. Things happen. You're putting fires out all the time. You're wearing 20 or 30 hats. But if 2 or 3 weeks go by and you're in about the same spot as when we started, that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a red flag, right? Because, you said they don't have that growth mindset, or they don't really want to grow. And I would say that maybe they do really want to grow, but they're not willing to do what it takes.
There
right?
you go.
And that's the big difference. Is I think every business owner wants to grow their business, but are they willing to do what it takes to actually make it happen? Right. And that's the thing, is sometimes you got to take big risks, whether it's monetary or otherwise, to actually make that happen. I mean, it's the classic risk versus reward, right? I mean, my wife and I were watching a TV show last night where there was a woman buying a really nice apartment in LA, and she was talking to her boyfriend or husband about, I took the big risk, and the big reward's paying off, and I'm able to reap this reward, and it's true. Like, that's the thing, is our country rewards taking risk. You can also go the other direction, right? I mean, if you make wrong decisions along the way, or you take that big risk and you maybe potentially got a big loss too, but you're not going to have that big reward if you're not willing to take that big risk. Yeah,
back when I launched the golf site, we'll go back there again. My then wife, we're no longer married, but my then wife said, "This is risky. I don't know about this." And I said, "No, I got to do this. I got to do this." And she now, even today, says, "I'm so glad you did that."
Yeah.
Because, I dove in, and again, you want to talk about do whatever it takes. Back in 2001, there was no WordPress. There was no smartphones. There was nothing.
Yeah.
I hired a videographer, and we shot 225 exercise videos, 225. And it took me 6 months to upload them into this HTML website, this raw website. I worked probably 20 to 22 hours a day for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And my then wife was like, you're killing yourself. What are you doing? I got to get done. I got to get done. Got to get done. Got it done. And when I got it done and launched, within months, it was a 6-figure business, just because I had done all that work. I followed my partner who had the membership site for fitness. He kind of guided me, so he takes credit, Chad. But I did all the work, and that's kind of what I talk about with my clients. I'm there for you, and I'm going to set strategy, and I'm going to hold you accountable, but implementation's got to happen. If it doesn't happen, results aren't going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, I think the big thing that I take away from that, so the marketing tactics and the strategies and, the approach, the coaching along the way, obviously that's extremely important, and that's what you do. That's why you get hired to do that. But I think the big takeaway that I would have for a general audience listening to this is that it's okay to not say yes to every potential client. Right. I mean, we had that conversation this morning, and I gave an example that we've had in the last month where this potential client for us had already met with 4 other advisors, and they just wanted an answer to one question: what kind of rate of return can you get for me? Oh. And I said, and that was the first few minutes of the meeting, and I said, if that's what you're going to measure us by,
and that's all you care about, we're probably not the right fit. I said, if you want to talk further about this, or this, and why this is important, then there's a reason for us to continue this conversation. But if that's all you're concerned about, we're probably not the right fit for you. You've already met with 4 other advisors. He was going to be, generating a significant amount of money from selling his business. And I said, there are going to be advisors that are willing to trip over themselves to manage those investments for you. If that's all you're looking for, we're not the firm for you.
See, that's so powerful.
And he just sat there. He was dumbfounded for a minute, but it gave him an opportunity to rethink things and say, you know what, I do want to continue the conversation. Let's see where this goes. And now it's completely flipped to where he's reaching out to our practice manager saying, I'm not sure if they want to work with me, but here's my information. Here's, and it's important. You have to have that buy-in from the client.
Right.
And I think, all too often early on, you kind of almost have to work with anybody because you're trying to generate revenue, right? But most business owners and businesses don't get away from that.
Right.
And realize that they're going to be more successful as a business if they're willing to say no to certain clients and find better fits and more profitable clients as time goes on.
Well, this goes back to like when I was training those male CEOs in their homes. These were alphas, all of them, right? Really successful men, and they don't like being told no.
Yeah.
Successful people, and you basically told that person no in a way. You say, well, I don't think this is going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
That's shocking to people like that. And that's what you did to him. So there's a little psychology in there, right? And not that you did that intentionally. You did it from a genuine, authentic viewpoint, but he took it like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't get that very often, right? And so you gain instant respect with that gentleman, instant respect. And that's, I do that a lot because I do get a lot of clients that'll say things like, well, how fast can I get results? What's the ROI, like within month 1 or 2?
Yep.
That's pretty tough. That's pretty tough, and that's why I kind of talk about 12-month engagements, right? But everything's monitored every month. So, the calls that I have with clients and the progress, if implementation's happening, I can virtually, I don't want to use the word guarantee, but I can virtually say if the implementation of the strategies I'm presenting to them are happening, the revenues they're going to go up. They're going to go up for sure. And the ROI is going to be built in. It's going to be built in, but it's just most of the time, unfortunately, most business owners don't implement.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
And then they turn to the marketing guy or the marketing person that, I'll do some Facebook for you. I'll do this, that. It's $5,000 a month. And they do that for 6 months and not much happens. And they go, well, I just spent $30,000. What happened?
Yeah.
Right. So they got sold a bill of goods from a marketer.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, I've heard that story a million times, which is horrible.
Yep.
Just horrible.
Yep. It's unfortunate. All right, so let's go back to kind of something you said at the very beginning, and let's give something away for free. All right, so from an educational standpoint for our audience, somebody's listening, what do you tell them when they say, what should I focus on to grow my business?
Well, I think for sure that you've got to look at where you're at. It's so funny when you think of asking, like, finding out what keeps your client and customer up at night. Well, you got to ask yourself that question, right? And think, what's the main issue here? Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it customer service? Whatever it may be, you've got to fix that first. You're putting Band-Aids on things if you don't.
Yep.
So and that could be a talk with whether it's a spouse, whether it's your employees, whether your C-suite, whoever it may be. You have to take a step back and look at what the main issue is first, and see how deep that goes. Once you find that main issue and you can start working on that, then you've got a foundation to move forward with it. That would be what I would say. I would say to start off with.
Yeah. And I would even add to that and say one of the things that you said earlier was it would probably be the next step, and that's identifying who your ideal client is and what it is that you guys do to solve their issues of what keeps them up at night or whatever that may be. But what is it that makes you guys unique, and who is it that you solve that problem for?
Right. Well, and that goes back to that phrase, market dominating position. And I like that phrase. It's a very aggressive phrase, which fits me. Market dominating position, right? Dominate.
Yeah.
And some people don't like that, but in business, there's a lot of people that say, I like that word. That's a good word, right? So that's that market dominating position of you have to dig deep on, you can't, I've had hours and hours of discussion with a new client on trying to come up with something like that. And people say, what's the difference between a USP, unique selling proposition, and market there's a big difference. USP is something that's kind of alongside your business that maybe sets you apart from another business. A market dominating position is something that literally you're finding the biggest pain of your potential client, the biggest pain, and you're providing a solution around that pain that's easily stated in a 6-word, 8-word statement. And the cool thing about that is when you get that, you teach all your employees that same. And it's more than an elevator pitch. It's way more than that, right? It's way more powerful. And so it's taken me sometimes 2 to 3 months with a client for market dominating. It's like 6-8 weeks to get that, right? To dig in deep. But when you get it and you transfer that to your employees, so let's say you have a company of 20 employees. You have now 20 salespeople out every single day. And if they're happy, which I believe in employee happiness, because what's happened with employee happiness in the last couple of years, what's that called? The Great Resignation?
Yeah, exactly.
Bye-bye, see ya, right? People they're done. They want that work-life balance, and they want to feel like that they mean something to the company. Yep. And I think employers now with COVID, remote, which is a beautiful thing. I've been remote. I've worked for myself. I've never had an office, so I'm very, very lucky. But so people are now experiencing what I've experienced for 30 plus years, working for myself, and I'd have it no other way. Now the power is shifting to more the employee, not the employer, right? And that's why a lot of employers are having a hard time finding help, finding workers, right? Because people are like, you know what? No, I'm not. I see your list of responsibilities here, and your pay is X, and you want me to come to the office 2 days a week. I'm not doing that.
Yep.
And so I love seeing that because I just feel like that dynamic has taken the power from the employer to the employee.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a shift, right? And from the employer side, they're going to have to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very poignant or very, honed in on culture going forward.
And flexible.
Right? Yeah, and flexible. Yeah, but they're going to, they have to know, gosh, building a great culture is never easy.
No.
But it's way easier when you're all within the same 4 walls, right? And now all of a sudden you've got, I've got a good friend actually that's been on this show with us that has never had employees inside of, an office with their company. And I think they've got employees in 26 states right now.
Wow.
Right? And so they've been virtual before virtual was cool, so to speak. And they've done a pretty darn good job. He'll tell you they could always do better, but they've done a pretty darn good job of building a great culture, even though the employees are spread out all over the place.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, it's got to change. It's a difference. It's good. It's bad. There's, I don't know exactly where we go from here, to be honest with you. I think that the hybrid setup is here to stay.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yep.
And I don't know if a lot of companies are going to stay 100% virtual, if they'll go to hybrid or if they'll go all the way back, but definitely hybrid is here to stay for sure.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right. So last question for you here, then we're wrapping up. We're coming up against the end of time.
Dang it. I want to talk. I want to talk
more. It always runs out. But you talked about it earlier, and this is a trap that a lot of business owners kind of fall into, is they're looking for that immediate ROI, or they're looking for that immediate lead source, right, that comes from their marketing engine, if you will. So how do you get them past that frame of mind so that they really understand how to capture market share long term? Not just today, but long term.
That's a great question. Well, I think number one, I don't want to sound like a smart bleep. Smart. What? I'd say the full thing if I could, but I won't. But you have to ask yourself, how's it working so far? right? Whatever the approach is, how's it working?
Yeah.
If it's not working too well, then you got to change it, right? So, I mean, when you think of the ROI and you think of marketing tactics and, well, we're running Facebook ads, we're spending $10,000 a month, we got Google ads, we got all these things going. I mean, if it's not working, you have to change it. The definition of insanity is what? Keep doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result.
Yep.
Well, you got to change it. So it's finding, it's like what J. Abraham said, the strategy of preeminence. It's finding somebody that you can trust, that you can work together with. And again, it's not a pitch for me, but consultant or somebody that you've gotten to know, almost to the point where I was talking to one of my peers over in Australia, a really successful consultant, amazing guy, and he said that most of his clients that he's had for years, they go out for drinks once in a while. They've played golf together. They've done they've not become friends. They haven't crossed the line. But that the relationship is so strong that 10 consultants could come in and try to scoop that client up, and he'd
They're
say,
not going
go
anywhere.
away.
Yep.
So it really is finding somebody that really has an overall strategy in place that can really explain to the business owner, listen, what you're doing now isn't working. Here's why. Facebook ads, this, that, whatever that thing is. And come back to, what's your market dominating position? Do you know your buyer persona? Do you know the buyer journey? Do you know the customer experience? It goes back to, I'm going to keep going back to that, because if you don't go back to that, you don't have a business, because you're not speaking to your ideal prospect and they're not having an experience. I always say this to a client too, which is, for every new client or customer you get for your business should turn into minimum one more, which is called a referral.
Yep.
So always, and think about that, that's doubling your revenue.
Yep.
That is doubling so if you do $1 million a year, theoretically, what should that be?
Yep.
$2 million a year.
Yep.
Like that. And that should be nothing, right? One referral from every happy customer or client, that's incredible, but it's nailing down the customer experience, which takes a little bit of time. And that's where those business owners go, no. Facebook, Google, whatever it may be. No, back up. And that's why I say the phrase, take a step back,
Yep.
look at the bigger picture, and then move forward again, right? And you do it strategically month after month after month.
Yeah. No, you've got to have that strategy. You got to know who your client is, and then you've got to have the message to solve their concerns. I mean, it's really, that oversimplifies it, but that's really what it is, right?
That's it. I mean, it's sometimes simplicity is better, right?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think that things are supposed to be, something that's worthwhile should be hard. That's not necessarily the truth, right? I mean, some things are, like fitness, for instance. I trained a client way back in the day. That's not fun. They're going from sedentary lifestyle to all of a sudden I'm saying I'm going to meet you 3 days a week, and here on the off days you're going to do this, and you're going to eat like this, and they're like, oh my God, what?
Yeah.
But at the same point, it's how bad do you want it?
Yep.
And then that goes back to one of my favorite words of all time, desire. If you do not have desire, you're going to have a very difficult time. And that desire goes into desiring your spouse or your partner, desiring to be a better person, desire to grow your business. That word should be implanted in everything you do, right? Desire. Because that desire turns into hunger, turns into consistency, turns into passion. So desire to me is a really, really big word.
Yep. Got to have the desire first before the action comes into play, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's leave it at that. Why don't you just close us out with how people can get in contact with you? How do they find you on LinkedIn, or what's your website or phone number, whatever you'd like to share?
You know what I want to do? I want to give, I co-wrote a book.
Okay.
And this book has 10 strategies in it. Super, super simple book for free. So they can go to yourbusinessgrowthpartner.com, www.yourbusinessgrowthpartner.com.
Okay.
Name and email address, get the book for free, 70 pages. If they put just any one of those strategies in place, they're going to find money in their business that they didn't have before without spending a dime.
Great.
No money. So implement those strategies. If you don't, maybe we can talk and work together. But other than that, go get that book for free at that website. LinkedIn, I think there's a lot of Michael Pedersen spelled with my name on LinkedIn, because I've had people say, I can't find you.
Yeah.
But just Michael Pedersen, Pedersen on LinkedIn. And I'd love to connect with anybody on LinkedIn. I'm on there half an hour to an hour every day. So if anybody wants to reach out and connect with me there, I'd do it. Great.
Well, we really appreciate the conversation. I've picked up some nuggets. I feel your passion right across the table, and obviously know that this is something that not only are you passionate about, but you have the skills to back it up. And so we appreciate you being on the show with us today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Tycoons of Small Biz, proudly hosted by Austin Peterson and Landon Mance. Austin and Landon are comprehensive financial planning professionals specializing in financial, estate, and succession planning for small business owners. Austin and Landon have offices in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada, and represent clients in 14 states throughout the country. Join Austin, Landon, and the featured Tycoons live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. right here on Business Radio X and your favorite podcast platform.